Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life that really feels good. Because after all, that's what we all want. We want a feel good life. Hey, I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Amy is out today, so we're going to be talking with a remarkable woman running an organization that is making a difference for the lives of youth in the greater Chelan Valley. Kayla Hellerson is the executive director of Thrive Chelan Valley, and I think the work they're doing is wonderful and important. And when I come across stories that inspire me, I want to share them with you because I want you to feel inspired as well. So join us for a conversation about how they are serving, advocating, and empowering the area's youth. But before we go any further, I do want to remind you that if you have questions you would like me to answer on or off the show, you can email those questions directly to me at fletcherellingson.com. You don't need to suffer. There are answers and solutions and ways to get unstuck and move forward powerfully. And I also encourage you to visit me at my website, fletcherellingson.com, or thepracticeoffeelinggood.com. Check out some of the free content I have there for you so you can stay in this conversation of personal development. Because when we are learning, when we're taking in new information, we have access to growth and progress. And again, that feels good. Now, it's usually at this time where we respond to a viewer's email, but we're going to skip that today because I want to take a little extra time in this interview. Again, I really believe in the work that these people are doing. So let's give them some extra minutes. So we're going to skip the email today. We'll get back to it next week. And without further ado, let's get to the interview. So Kayla Hellerson, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fletcher. It's so nice to be with you this morning. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you here. And before we dive into all about Thrive, we want to find out what's going well in your life or what are some personal wins. And the reason we do this is, we want to practice that. We want to practice training our mind to focus on what's going well, what's feels good, what are the wins, because we get caught up so frequently in noticing what's not working, and we want to reverse that. So we always start out with something that feels good. So let us know what's going well for you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I love that. My husband and I, Eric, we have two beautiful girls, Harper and Hallie, and something that's just going really well for us right now is they're happy and healthy. And Harper's a second grader at Manson Elementary, and she's just loving being back in full days with her friends and the teachers that she has. She's just loving that learning. And so we're just really grateful for that. And our daughter Hallie is too, and she's at daycare and loving being with friends. So it's nice to have those social connections that they get to have every day. And we're just really celebrating that. So
yeah, I like that. I like that you use the word celebrating too. One of the things I work with my clients on is more celebrating, less worrying, right?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And last time I saw you, you were on crutches, and because you had just had some knee surgery. How's that going?
It's going really well, slow but sure. So I'm celebrating again the slow wins that I have, and try not to get hung up on the setbacks from time to time. So I'm off crutches now, which is a huge win. And thanks to a lot of really good PT, I'm, walking without those now. So like I said, it's a little slower than I'd like it to be, but I'm on the journey, and that's a good thing. So
good for you. Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, today we are talking about Thrive. And what I'd like to just ask you to do in general, just kind of share in general what Thrive is for those who are not familiar with the program.
Sure. So I just feel really fortunate to be connected with Thrive. It's an organization that's been serving youth since about 2009, where there was some community advocates that just decided kids needed some more wraparound support and resources and programs. And so, people like Jackie DePauli and Sarah Barnes and Michelle Navarro here in our community, just a real grassroots effort to see what are the gaps and how could they work together to fill those gaps. So, we've been really fortunate to have 3 programs that have been going strong to serve our youth. Thrive Cares is one of those. It's a wraparound service model that really looks at what are those barriers potentially in the youth's lives, and how can we work to mitigate those. So that might be basic needs, it might be athletic fees, it might be any number of things, but what are those things that might be getting in the way, and how can we help to get those out of the way so kids can reach their full potential. We have a mentoring program. We are really proud of that program. It basically matches safe adults in our community with teens that are looking for a little bit more one-to-one support, encouragement, people to celebrate those wins with them when they have them, and walk through difficulties. So that's a great program. It's been going on since about 2018. And then the last program that I'd like to highlight is our Thrive Teen Center program. That's been going on since 1999. So before kind of Thrive got its start, this has been a real, just a real bright spot in our community, where people realized that kids needed some safe spaces on the weekends to go and get a meal and have a space to belong and have some fun things to access. So that's kind of what we do. Our whole mission is to serve, empower, and advocate for Chelan and Manson youth. And we have a whole community behind us that helps us do that. So we're really grateful.
I love that. I love the mission to serve, to advocate, and to empower. Right. That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm really attracted to the mentor program. So this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a number of children out there who are looking for, or who are being paired with an adult in the community. And that adult takes on that youth and they do things together. They have phone calls together. Tell me a little bit how that looks.
Yeah, great question. So of course, things have changed a little bit because of COVID, but not too much. But, you know, the great thing about the mentoring program is that it's been able to continue, where kids are able to access safe adults, like you talked about, not only to have fun, but also to check in on things. You know, if something's not going so well, they have a safety net kind of in that person to check in. If things are going really well and they want somebody to celebrate something with, they can give them a call or a text, and that's equally as awesome and rewarding for both parties. It really kind of got its start in the fact that we realized that there were kids that were just really wanting that connection, and maybe they had great family support, maybe they didn't, but regardless of where they were on that continuum, we just know that it's best practice for kids to have somebody outside of their family that can help them walk through life. They're probably saying the exact same things that their parents or their loved ones that they're living with are saying, you know, those positive things, those reminders, but having somebody kind of that isn't part of your family, part of your safety net and your community is just so powerful. And so, you know, we've been able to pair just a touch over 50 mentor mentees together. So that's Chelan and Manson youth. Yep. And what I'm most proud of, I think, of this program, especially seeing how our youth have responded due to COVID, is that kids are reaching out and saying, I know that's something I need. They're showing an incredible amount of self-advocacy and just saying, I know I've got some gaps. I know I'm a little worried about this situation I'm in, or this thing that I'm struggling with, or it'd just be nice to have somebody to talk to. And so they're reaching out and saying that's what they need. And I just think that that's such a cool thing to see our youth doing. I wish I would have been able to do that a little bit more as a young person and have that self-awareness, right? And so It's just been cool to see that happening. But yeah, really, even with COVID restrictions, people can still get outside and do things safely, you know, go for a hike, go for a walk, go grab food outside, you know, be in touch with texting or phone calls or FaceTime, whatever that looks like, and still can continue that connection. So it's been really rewarding to see that.
I absolutely love that program. I think it is so valuable. You know, you mentioned, what if we had that? What if you had that when you were younger? And I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, what if I had that when I was younger? Because my dad passed away when I was young, and so it was my mom and myself, and she worked. So I was always on my own after school, and you know, I don't know about my decision making back then. It was a little iffy, but just thinking like, wow, if I had some consistent adult in my life that was just taking an interest in me, where I felt safe and had someone advocating for me, what a gift, you know? Yeah, and I love the fact you pointed out that some of the youth are saying, hey, I want that in my life, because that tells me something. We're getting the word out that it's a sign of strength to ask for help. It's a sign of strength to ask for counsel or advice. That's one of the things I say in almost every single one of my introductions on this show. When you ask for help, that's a sign that you're strong. And I love that somehow that message is getting out to our young people.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. And yeah, I really think the other thing we're trying to get out there is that everybody can benefit from a mentor, like you just described. I mean, you're a highly successful person, Fletcher. You mentor people all the time, I'm sure, as well. And so it's really nice for kids to see that it is a sign of strength to have a mentor too, have somebody that can walk through that with life with you. And whether it's a career path type of mentor or it's a personal mentor like we offer with our programming, it's just so powerful to have that person in your corner, right? And so we talk all the time about, regardless of the background, whether you're a student who's struggling with something, whether you're a highly successful student, we've got the whole gamut as part of our program. And so there's really, I think we're starting to see that stigma removed around mentoring, that it's not a sign of, oh my gosh, I'm in deep trouble and I'm that kid, whatever that kid is. It's really, I am a strong young person and I can ask for the help that I need and be assured somebody's going to come along and help me and advocate for me and be there for me. So
really powerful. Hey, we're going to take this moment to take a break. We'll be back with more with Kayla and the work she's doing in conjunction with many people in the area. So stay with us. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Live It Up. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher and we're talking with Kayla Hellerson today from Thrive, which is in the Chelan Valley. I just looked out my window into my Chelan because we're doing the home edition again today. So Kayla, thanks again for being on here. We were talking about the mentorship program just a minute ago, but there's also a relatively new program you're bringing to this Thrive, which is called the Food to Schools program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I would say our model of distribution is looking newer, but the program itself started in about 2014-ish, maybe a little bit before that. And I have a unique connection with the program because I was actually working in the schools at that time as a school counselor at the elementary in Manson. And so this really amazing group of people came to me and said, hey, we know there's hungry kids. And I said, yes. And they said, how can we help? And I said, oh my gosh, what a gift. And so this group of people basically started advocating for the hungry kids that we were seeing in Chelan and Manson. We saw these kids really struggling to stay awake during the school hours. Maybe they had, because they were so tired and hungry, maybe there were some behavior issues from time to time, which, affected their learning and different things like that we were seeing. And so we obviously knew help was needed. And so they got us funding and food. And basically we started putting food into the backpacks of kiddos for either the weeknight, during the evenings when kids maybe were struggling to find food away from school meals, and or the weekend. So on Fridays, we would put food into backpacks. And so it was just an incredibly powerful program. We collected a ton of data and realized that we needed to deploy more resources, not only for the kids we were continuing to serve, but those that we knew would be added to our caseload. So fast forward to today, we're continuing that program in partnerships with Lake Chelan School District and Manson School District. And thanks to a ton of community volunteers and donor support and grant support, we're feeding about 150 kids a week with that program. So that's that same group of kids that are getting meals every week, which is incredibly powerful and helpful for them. Families are super thankful for that support. And we're also launching a food pantry program. So Manson's kind of been doing that informally with their middle high students, where basically it looks kind of like the food bank. Kids can go in and pick out what they need and access that as needed when they're hungry. And we're going to be launching that in Chelan as well this year with partnership from their FBLA. So great things happening with that program.
That is so cool. I want to pause here for a minute too, because I know that there are some people that may be hearing this and some may be thinking, wow, that is so wonderful. I'm so glad this is happening. And other people may hear that and think, gosh, another burden we're putting on the school system where we have to feed the. And I just want to address that mindset.
Yeah.
should it be that way? It doesn't matter if it should or shouldn't. The fact is, this is the reality. Children are showing up hungry at school. They leave school on Friday with food uncertainty in their home. That's the reality. Should or shouldn't is kind of irrelevant. And I just want to acknowledge and commend you and your group for seeing the need and stepping up, regardless of the should, regardless of the shouldn't. Like, here's the reality, and here's a group of people that are simply saying, hey, we're going to take that on.
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful thing. And again, I just want to acknowledge the organization for the work that they're doing.
Thank you. And I just want to acknowledge the people that saw the need in the first place, that really were aware enough to say, number one, it was happening. And, we obviously know that it's happening when you have over 70% of our kids locally that are on free and reduced meals. And like you said, regardless of why it's happening, we know it is happening, and kids really most often do not have any control over their circumstance, right? And so we might have families that are working as hard as they can to put food on the table, but sometimes there's just not enough resource to help that happen. So the other thing I think I'm really proud of is when we know that maybe it's a long-term issue, we are able to also partner with our friends at the food bank to get people more sustainable help, with meals. And so it's not just a Thrive program, it's really a community-wide effort to help make sure kids and families and our whole community is fed. And I'm really thankful for the work of our food bank staying open even through COVID to make sure people have what they need. So it's a real amazing effort. I think people have no idea all the things that happen behind the scenes to make this work. So really thankful for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to echo that yeah, it really is a community effort. So we have some remarkable people in our valleys here that just do step up consistently, whether it's financially or their service of time, or other services, grant writing. There's all sorts of ways that these people are coming forward behind and in front of the scenes. And yeah, we're very blessed to have such a remarkable community.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah.
Hey, it's already time for another commercial.
Wow.
Time flies by, but when we come back, I'm going to ask Kayla to share a story, share a success story as we conclude this program today from something you've seen, Kayla, that has inspired you, touched your heart, and that you would like us to hear, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Live It Up. So glad you're here today. So glad we're having this conversation. It's an important conversation. And we're talking today with Kayla from Thrive. And she has been telling us about the cool programs that they're doing and with the help of and support of the community. And I've asked her now just to kind of share a success story or something that has touched her heart that she's seen as a result of these programs.
Great question. I think I could talk all day about success stories, but we just don't have that amount of time. But I think the cool thing about our mentoring program and, really even our teen center program shifting to where we're offering events in the community now that are safe for kids, there's just so much good stuff happening that, like I said, I could talk about it all day and I'm so passionate about it. But I think one success story that comes to mind is specifically from our mentoring program. And the reason I think it's such a success is kind of what we were talking about earlier in the program, Fletcher, around kids having that self-advocacy that's building. And I really see even through this pandemic, kids' resilience strengthening. And so the story kind of highlights both of those things today. So earlier in June, we actually had one of our mentees reach out in quite a crisis situation to us. It was around graduation time, and the student just was really struggling with some mental health issues. And we had been supporting them. Their school counselor had been supporting them, parent support, tons of wraparound support. They've been seeing a therapist, all the things, right? All the good things that they were doing for themselves, and they were still struggling. And so on a Saturday afternoon, they found themselves in a situation where they just felt like there wasn't any hope. There wasn't a way to get out. And so they were feeling suicidal, and they reached out via text to me and said, hey, I need some help. Are you there? Can you help me? And so basically, long story short, between Thrive and the schools and the parent, we were able to stabilize that young person and get them to the help that they needed, because that young person was brave enough to reach out and knew that there were people that would listen, right? And so we were able to get them down to a medical facility to be assessed for suicide and mental health. It was discovered pretty quickly that they needed a little bit more help than what they were already getting. And so they were transported to a residential facility for a little bit more inpatient treatment. And the mentee was gracious enough to add us to their list of contacts. And so we were able to communicate with them and their doctor. And one of the things that the doctor said, and I think this is why it's such a success, is when they were doing some questions and talking with the mentee, that their patient at the time, the mentee mentioned that they had a mentor, and the doctor made a comment about how powerful that was for the mentee to have that, and how they really felt a lot of assurance sending the mentee back after the treatment was completed, because they knew they had this whole safety net of resources, including a safe mentor, somebody they could trust to walk through the safety plan that they were going to put in place. Kind of fast forward to today, the mentee obviously isn't free of struggle. You know, they were released from the inpatient facility. They're back in school full time, which is such a win. But they still, you know, those of us who have struggled with mental health issues, we know that it doesn't go away just because we have, you know, resources necessarily. It's a daily battle. And so this person knows that they have a mentor in their life to walk through that with. And while they're doing better, there's still a long ways to go, but they have that support. So I just find that to be such a success, Fletcher, because even in the struggle, we can celebrate those good things that are happening. And I could share a million of those stories today if we had time, but that is one that really kind of stands out to me.
Yeah, that's golden. And I love to, again, you said this just when I was thinking in my mind, like, wow, safety net. And you mentioned that term, safety net. You know, yes, we have safety nets in our life, but with this program for these kids, it's just one more layer, right? It's one more weave into that safety net to strengthen it, to make sure things don't fall through the gap or fall through the holes. And what a beautiful, beautiful story and beautiful ending for that. And clear, the value is just clear just in that one example alone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's next for the organization?
Great question. You know, we're always looking at what are we doing? Are we doing it well? How do we know? And what are the needs out there? And so right now, obviously, it's crystal clear that mental health is such a needed focus, not only for our organization, but our entire community, our nation. So you know, we have some preliminary plans around how our organization will plan to partner with other entities such as the schools and other community organizations to better address the needs of our youth in regards to mental health. Not a lot of fleshed out plans I can share with you specifically today, but I'd love to come back sometime and share more about what's on the horizon with that. Yeah. Really looking at how we can use our own resources here locally, Fletcher, to help just be better listeners and supports to our youth as they're going through difficulties. And, you know, our kids were struggling before the pandemic. We know that, you know, pain is just a part of life. We know that. And so when we know that and recognize it, know what we need to address that pain and not suffer, that's where we find our strength and resilience, right? And so we're really aiming to help our youth lean into that and find ways to you know, have a plan in place so that when that pain is there, they know how to manage it and harness it and be stronger. So that's kind of on the horizon for us, just really focusing in on how we can better address mental health and partner with people to do that.
I love it. If somebody is listening to this and they want to partner with you or they want to get involved somehow, whether it's, again, financially, whether it's time, whether it's a service they can provide, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, thank you for asking. We love people who want to be part of what we're doing, however that looks, like you described. So probably the best way to reach me is my cell phone. Our Thrive number is 509-934-2211. or they can go onto our website, which is just thrivechelanvalley.com, and get connected with us that way. There's a lot of information there about our programs and how we do what we do. But we'd really love to be connected with anyone who has a heart for youth and wants to partner with us in this really rewarding work to support our kids. So thank
Excellent.
you.
Yeah, excellent. All right. So if you want to get involved, contact Kayla. She will be delighted to have a conversation with you. And it doesn't mean you're having to sign away your life or donate tons of time. Just have a conversation, see where you can plug in and make a difference.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Kayla. All right, guys, now it's time for you to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world, and I believe in you.